Hey everybody, I know this is something different that I would probably never post, but I've been working on this sci-fi book in the Mass Effect universe, and I thought it came out pretty good so far, and I wanted to know what you guys thought about it. Just go easy on me, it's my first thing I ever had to write, so just let me know what you guys think.
In the Omega Nebula laid a community called Pressrop, a democracy, a bionic monks that believes in the authority of your mind and body becoming one. It is not known to what that can mean, as despite preaching of the true way of life, they never could say of what they could actually teach you in physical terms, as only high-ranking members of this tribe were able to be given the gift of true power. To most people on Omega think they're just legends to scare them off their land. However, some people claim to see them fly without using their biotic powers. And some have claimed that they saw them manipulate the metal walls into armor. With these rumors, it was just enough for people to believe that there was something more going on, that just bionic training. They were already skeptical of the tribe, considering they were not natives of Omega but natives of Moon of Klendagon, as the founder, Father Kyle, sent gifted biotics there to train of their bodies and mind. But back then, it was only a tribe of 12. But during of the end of the Reaper War, it rapidly grew to 1,200 members, and despite their land being hardly touched by the Reaper invasion, they still came to Omega, but people couldn't understand why. Because to the residents of Omega, they didn't see them as a tribe or community. They saw them as a brainwashing cult, as despite your generosity of giving their crops and resources to help the people around them, their beliefs were too extreme to get behind, like believing that the Protheans, they had the technology, the sea of different world and realities open, or some believing that they saw the reapers of prophets, as they claimed they had technology that was able to show them of the future. That alone was enough to make an uproar. Of all alien races and gangs came together to see what was really going on. It's not actually known to what happened those few hours, but in the year 2216, a mass explosion happened in the center of Yeshu, killing approximately 2,600 people. Now that what remains of Pressrop land is nothing but shallow ruins of destroyed buildings and burnt shadows of the past. However, despite all that, it actually has gotten worse, as people are calling it, of the end of times, as the explosion also let the shockwave damaging the Omega power field, shutting down all natural communications, heating pods that people use for their crops, and water filters that were rendered useless right after. From this, it led to the community going into complete anarchy, where rapid assaults, rape, and murder was growing by every day. It wasn't until the Galaxy Council declared martial law that led to the many deaths of 7,000 people. Though their actions was heavily criticized by the media, it still didn't stop them from filling out their plan to save this station. Unfortunately, despite their best odds being well fortified and funded, it was not enough to save everything, as 1/2 of Omega is still under gang activity and control, whereas the other half is held by a dictatorship of the council, believing that they will stop the fire before it spreads. But no matter what side you may think, Noah could explain what that explosion really was, or especially who did it.
But that's why we're here to find out. Grigor, stop the presentation.
As you wish, sir.
Now, did everyone get all that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good, because I'm letting you all know right now. Whatever happened on that day, many more people have been more protective of their territory, meaning they've been more jumpy. So keep your eyes to yourselves and keep your gun on your waist, because we'll be going into Yeshua.
The once quiet room was now filled up with whispers that each of the men confided in one after each other. The man, noticing this quick change up in the room, raised his tone and said,
All right, that's enough. We all knew this was never going to be easy. But according to our intel, whatever made that destruction 10 years ago is on this ship, and who probably ever did this had time to modify it, since they put it at the most heavy guarded place and Omega.
After the captain explained this possible suicide mission, one soldier in the room was a bit skeptical. His name was Private Dennis, and despite taking initial orders, he wasn't a big fan of wasting his time, especially if it involved getting shot. So for this, he raised his hand up and said to the captain,
But sir, how do we know our intel is correct? Over the years, people claimed to be the one who made the bomb, but all we found out that it was a hoax, just to scare a few people off or just to get what they wanted.
After he finished that sentence, the people in the room started to agree on him. This was practically a death situation, and the thought that they're actually doing this on a hunch said a lot. But thanks to Private Dan's questions, it led to a trail of more to be answered. One of them happened to be Sergeant Lieutenant Andrew.
Lieutenant Dan has a good point. We would have to get past the most heavily guarded place on that station. Even if we could get past them, how are we gonna make our escape? I ran the numbers and they don't seem too high.
You ran the numbers that fast?
Yes, my predecessor allows me to calculate from completion of each mission or failure, based off our experience, our skills, and intelligence.
And where does that put us?
Well, the way how I see everything, we have a 3,485 chance of completing the mission.
Out of what?
10,000.
I feel like if we can get a bit more numbers, we might stand a chance.
This is not coming through Andrew or Dan, but rather Lieutenant Grigor. Though the captain did agree with Lieutenant Grigori, he was going to have to explain to him why that was not certain.
Because, Lieutenant, during the crisis at the border, we sent most of our resources over there. And like Lieutenant Dan pointed out, we don't know if this could be real.
Then why are we taking it so serious, sir?
We're taking it serious because this doesn't come from the Council or our intelligence. This information comes from the Shadow Broker himself.
The room went silent. If it wasn't for the thoughts going through their heads, you can cut the atmosphere with a knife in that room. To Sergeant Andrew going through the numbers, or to Grigor, who felt very skeptical about that information, or to Sergeant Dan, who was puzzled as he couldn't believe the Shadow Broker was actually real.
Everyone, I get it. The Shadow Broker hasn't been heard of in 20 years, or has done nothing active, but apparently last week we were sent this message.
As the captain backed up, turning off the lights beneath the floor, a shining beam came from above. At each pixel came together reviewing a video. At first, it didn't know what they were looking at. It was nothing but a dark room. And after 10 seconds, something came on. The room was lit up by hundreds of monitors revealing live videos of people around the galaxy. Before they could put their eyes on anything, somebody walked in the frame. As all of them scanned the figure, the only thing they can get out of it that it was a woman. What a dark hood, going down to her legs, and wearing a dark dress. But however, they couldn't tell what was the species, as she covered her face with a red and white mask. But as she got close to the camera, so was the men trying to make out what was happening. And when she finally got up in front of it, she spoke in a robot, quiet tone, but still making out what you could hear her say.
Greetings. I'm the Shadow Broker, and I have been for over 40 years, and over the years I have found out the who, the why, and the where. But however, not this time. As myself, I couldn't figure out to what that explosion was so long ago. But what I managed to piece together and get what I could, I found out that they're using it once again. And they're not stopping at Omega. They will bring this to the Citadel, Lilium Earth, and by the goddess knows who else. She took a deep breath. I'm running out of options here. So much of my contacts have died trying to get me this information. And for this, I hand it to you, Garrus. Please save us all.
Does anyone else know about this other than us, sir?
Only Garrus Vicarian and Councilman Valerne. That is the reason why we are here.
With all respect, sir, if something serious like a nuke possibly going off, there should be more than just a team of 5 should we bring backup.
That's the thing, Lieutenant. We are the backup. Councilman Valerne doesn't want to take the risk of something like this getting out. And if we send an army out there, it'll be shown as a public announcement to war, and possibly set that thing off more earlier than we expected. And maybe if we're lucky, this could all been a hoax, and neither we get out alive or we just get out.
But why us, sir?
'Cause I read your report to what you guys did to the Blue Suns. I mean, come on, 3 of you. Against a whole platoon.
The memory that he was reopening for Sergeant Dan was not a fine one.
I guess you can call it luck.
No, son. That was determination. You were surrounded. Nowhere to go and barely any ammo left. You both could have put the gun in your mouth and called the day. But you all kept your cool and got out of that alive. On that day, gentlemen, you were both reborn. You stared at in the face and said no. And as your commander, I forbid you to say yes. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Good, dismissed.